This is the BBC.
This podcast is supported by advertising outside the UK.
This is Paige, the co-host of Giggly Squad, and I want to tell you about a company that I've been loving, Olive & June. Olive & June gives you everything that you need for a salon-quality manicure in one box. And if you break it down, it really comes out to $2 a manicure, which is absolutely insane. It's also so easy to get salon-worthy nails at home with Olive & June. The difference between how your nails used to look when you did them yourself and now with the Mani system is a complete game changer. The best thing about Olive & June, too, is it's a quick dry. Dries in about 1 minute, lasts for 5 days, and full coverage in up to 1 to 2 coats. Visit oliveandjune.com/perfectmani20 for 20% off your first system. That's oliveandjune.com/perfectmani20 for 20% off your first system.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Is the poverty all around us that we read about daily and see most clearly through the food some of us have to eat a sign that our country has become unhinged? The UK's most famous and lauded cookery writer thinks so. She pointed us to Norfolk to see the problem and the overwhelming community action that's grown up in response to that painful reality. And that's what this edition of the food programme is all about. I hope you find it interesting. In January, I had an unexpected email. Dear Sheila, it began, when I told you I wanted to be able to reach out to people undergoing the food crisis, what I realised is that recipes don't help people when they have no cooking equipment whatsoever. I'd not understood the scale of the poverty we're now dealing with. However, last week I visited an amazing project in Norfolk where they're reaching out to the very poorest people using volunteers and have created 27 food hubs throughout Norfolk. What we discovered was that they are not only providing food, but help and assistance at all levels. Melanie and I were blown away by what's happening, and I think it might be of interest to the programme. With love, Delia. Well, that's Delia Smith. And that really interested the food programme team, so we rang her.
I didn't realise there was so much poverty, but then there is everywhere. It's probably a little bit worse in Norfolk than anywhere, and that was something I didn't understand. I'd love people to know more about this because, it actually works. We underestimate people, we underestimate what they can do and their kindness and their generosity. That doesn't make the headlines, that doesn't get into the press. So I thought, well, the food programme would be the right people to go to try and make it known.
In many ways, this ties into what you were writing about in your last book, You Matter, the human solution.
It does indeed. I believe in community, and I also believe that the world at the moment is suffering. It's becoming unhinged, and we just need to get back to our roots, to get back to community and look after each other and help each other.
So, producer Natalie Donovan and I decided we'd spend a day travelling around Norfolk to see what had shocked and then amazed Delia and Melanie, that's her assistant. But 2 days before we were supposed to travel, I got flu. So producer Natalie went on her own. Natalie, you arrived there the night before.
Yeah.
What did you see? What did you find out?
Well, I got to meet Claire Cullens, who is the CEO of the charity that set up this project, which is called Nourishing Norfolk. She planned a whole day for us to see their distribution hubs, meet suppliers, and of course the volunteers. The most simple way to explain what they've set up is it's a chain of social supermarkets across the county. There's 24, not 27, like Delia said. And they're basically convenience shops offering a cut-down selection of what you'd find at the supermarket. The difference is the fruit and veg is all free, and the other food, tins, packets, meat, dairy, is heavily discounted. There are 4 people living on low incomes, but it's not means tested, so anyone can turn up and register. And Feeding Britain, which is a support network for these types of shops, says the development of Nourishing Norfolk is really at the cutting edge of what could be a larger move away from emergency food banks being the main provider of food for people when they're hungry. And Claire Cullens, the CEO, told me they never expected to see this level of demand.
We thought if we had 10 food hubs across Norfolk, we would be able to support something like 10,000 people. And in the early days, our expectation was that that would be supporting 50% of Norfolk's most deprived. The fact that today we sit here with 26,000 people needing our support and growing, I think just shows the scale of the issue.
Amazing.
So the first thing we did was go to meet a head teacher at a state-funded nursery school in Earlham, a relatively deprived area of Norwich.
All the time, hello. How are you?
You're right. Hello, Natalie. Nice to meet you.
And there, the head, Carol Jacks, has set up a food hub for the families whose children are at the school. But the plan is to open it to the whole community.
So I've been here nearly 8 years. What we noticed after COVID was that actually significantly more families are coming in real crisis and having to come and say that they literally have no food in the house and they don't know how they're going to feed their children today. We have a lot of children who have significant issues with their teeth. So that fits in with their diet, but it also fits in with the lack of NHS dentists. The aim is to offer a range of products here that members can buy, which then frees up money to either be able to buy other products at other supermarkets or actually frees up some money to be able to pay gas and electric. A lot of our children come in complaining that they're hungry. The mental strain that puts on a family when they're struggling financially and the impact that we see on children's emotional well-being. So it's not just on their physical health. And a lot of our families that we have safeguarding concerns around it is around parent mental health. And when we talk to those families, there are significant issues around debt. It's a ridiculous situation, quite frankly.
You mean, you talk about the pressure on the parents, but I'm thinking the pressure on you as a head teacher. Surely it's not your job to also kind of feed everybody as well as try and educate them.
I do think it is our role. I mean, it shouldn't be. I think it has to be because, you know, without decent quality food, our families would struggle even more. I just think it's a perfect storm, really. There's issues around employment, confidence, and being able to access services. There's issues around parents' education. You know, in theory, we're a school and we could say we're not going to do that. But if we don't do it, who is going to do it? And ultimately, the children that we care for and educate on a daily basis would suffer for that.
I mean, that's a very powerful story.
It's like schools have gone from giving children breakfast in the mornings to now having, you know, a shop on site that will give them some free food or very, very cheap food to feed the whole family.
After that, you set off around the hubs.
Yeah, so we met up there with Billy Lawler, who actually set up Nourishing Norfolk's first pilot community shop, and she's now overseeing the coordination of the whole network.
We've just come off the A11 at Quiddenham, and as you can see, we're less than a mile from the major road for Norfolk, and we're already incredibly rural. The road network system here is tiny, so if you are stuck here with no transport or you're finding it difficult to find the money for petrol, you are a little bit stuck. And some people will say, well, it's okay, go online and have your food delivered, but you may not have access to internet. If you're elderly, you may not know how to use the internet.
I think people listening might be surprised that there is this level of need in Norfolk. I mean, didn't it used to be called the breadbasket of the UK? Or
Quite possibly. And I think people come to Norfolk for holidays. So you see a lot of the very chocolate box places, you see the seaside, but actually the reality of living here is that you do have more of the farming jobs, the seasonal work, and if you're on a lower paid income and you are living in the middle of nowhere, it's a challenge actually with public transport and the road system to get yourself into different jobs.
Billy and I's first stop was at a hub called The Pantry in Kenning Hall. It's a small village just over 20 miles west of Norwich, and it took us around 40 minutes to get there.
Here we be.
So the shop is in fact in a converted shipping container, and it's open for 2 hours, 5 days a week. And it's been run by volunteers, and it has one employed manager, Heidi Glendenning, and she actually started the whole thing off by giving away food boxes during the pandemic from her garage. But demand has grown, and she decided to create something a bit more permanent.
When we set it up, we knew we were delivering to about 30-ish families, so we thought that potentially we might have about 50 families in need locally, but we had 50 families sign up in the first 2 weeks. It's nice and warm in here. Yeah, a bit warmer in here, isn't it? Yeah. So this is our free section. Like you can see, there's bagels, rolls, all sorts. And then this is the fruit and veg section where families can
cabbages, celery, pears, apples, oranges. And do you know where these have come from?
The supermarket.
So you went and bought those?
We went
ones?
and bought all of this,
Yeah.
and then we give it away for free. These onions, these did come from someone's allotment,
Okay.
but otherwise we have bought all of this at the same price as you would go and buy it for.
The fresh fruit and veg is something that many of the hubs try to give away for free or at a really, really tiny cost. Our first food hub was buying in fruit and veg, and it was going, but as soon as it went to the community fridge, which is about food waste because it was becoming very close to its use by date, it flew off the shelves, and it really highlighted to us, actually, even at our really reasonable prices, people still weren't able to put it into their main budget, even though they desperately wanted the fresh fruit and veg.
So they'd take it when it was free?
Absolutely, yeah. So the need is there, the money
that's why
isn't. Yes, absolutely.
What we do is, because we give all the fruit and veg away for free, families do have a little bit extra money to be able to buy a better quality meat. So we have some smoked bacon. So this has come from the Taste of Suffolk. So we sell a pack of that for £1.80. And then we've got sausages. That's £2 for 8 sausages. So when you get your sausages for £2 and then you get all your potatoes and your fruit and veg for free, it makes an affordable meal, but it's good quality food that you're giving to yourself and your children.
So Sheila, there's quite a complicated system going on for getting food supplies in, but before we hear more about that, I wanted to speak to some of the shoppers who were there.
I'm Pat, and I've just last November turned 75. When Heidi first approached me about joining the pantry, I said, oh no, I'm a bit embarrassed about that. She went, it's here for everybody, and it's been a blessing. I can go home with a bag full of shopping. If I'd been into Tesco's with it, it would have probably cost me about £40, and I come out of it usually £15 and less. So yes, I'm a very happy bunny.
What kind of income have you got? What would you be normally living on?
My pension. By the time you take all your bills into consideration, I do have to watch it. Recently lost the car, it died, but then I look at car insurance, petrol money, MOTs.
How are you getting around then?
I don't. I've got a couple of friends that will take me out. I like going into Thetford and this and Attleborough. I just miss walking around the shopping centre in that respect. But made loads of new friends going into the pantry, so it's been really nice, really nice.
Hi, my name's Hayley and I'm married and I have 2 boys. We don't qualify for free school meals and things like that, so we're just about managing in life. We are working as well, but times are really difficult. I saw something on Facebook and I scrolled through and I was like, oh, actually, I wonder whether, it'd be applicable for me. So I came down and we had a lovely chat and I filled in the form. Then I met Heidi as well. And yes, I've been using it for just over the last year. The pantry has just made a massive difference to us. I've spoken about my boys enjoying football, and through the pantry, they've been gifted complimentary tickets to go and see Norwich City play, which is just mind-blowing.
Hello, my name is Yolandi Turner. I moved up here last year with my son, who's 19 years old now.
And you use the pantry, but you're going to start volunteering here as well, is that right?
Yes, that's correct, because when I came in December, didn't have much money because my bank account got hacked and lost a lot of money. And I only had a few cans of baked beans and tomatoes, and I thought, what's going on, and So I remembered the pantry, so I took a walk over there to keep a brave face and everything, but I just broke down in tears. The ladies there had a warm chat to me and everything. I said, I haven't got much food in the house. I've got a 19-year-old son on my own. He's special needs. They were there, all open arms, their hearts, and they said, we've got a special box, emergency box, to keep you going, get you up and going, everything. They're just fantastic people. Coming to Kenninghall, I want to build bridges and I want to find myself a good job. But in the meantime, I want to help out the pantry because they helped me. I want to show my heart and love and care to the community as well.
After looking around the pantry, we went next door to the community hall to meet some of the volunteers. And Heidi Glendenning told me more about how they can help members.
At the pantry, some of our members have been lucky enough to receive from Household Support Fund, so their accounts are credited. So they've been coming in and we've said to them, you've got £10 to spend this week. We know you've got 2 children, so we'll stand there with their basket and we will plan their meals with them. And we'll do that for 5 weeks. And we've seen it work, where the same families we have been supporting with food boxes for 3 years previous, it's fantastic, but we're not actually giving them any skills. This way, the pantry is the only way to get people off food boxes and to learn the skills they need to be able to budget and make decent meals for their family.
And you've got volunteers who are doing cookery lessons as well.
Yes, we've got a huge team of volunteers who support us in all different things. So we're very lucky, and that's because we're a small community. Our volunteers can see the immediate impact. We couldn't do it without our team of volunteers.
And why did you originally get involved? What was it that sort of drove you to do that?
I don't know, I think I must have been drunk or something.
Okay.
The thing is, why wouldn't we get involved? If we live somewhere and you know there's someone who can't afford to, for whatever reason, feed their child or themselves, if you have the ability to help, you're going to help. What people forget is most of our members, their circumstances are at no fault of their own. We have had a family that pre-COVID, what would be considered a normal family, the mum lost her job because of COVID, then the dad died of COVID. You live in a rural area where we're lacking transport. The local school does not have wraparound care. So now you're a single mum who needs to get a job. Very unrealistic that you're going to get one in our village, so you're going to have to travel out. Well, you need your child to be at school at 9 and picked up at 3. Realistically, what job are you going to get? And it's people like that that then find themselves really stretched, and not just financially, but mentally trying to cope with. Not only are you a single mum, you're dealing with your child's grief as well. As then the last thing is you've got no food. So why wouldn't we help? You know, it's just the right thing to do. You just would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You just would. You just would though. You just would though, wouldn't you? You know, if we are in a position where we can help, then we're going to.
Yeah. That's remarkable. I mean, it does cheer you up about human beings, doesn't it? About, there's so much to make you depressed. And I know, because at the end of that day, when I was on my sick bed, you sent me some photographs and a text about how moved you'd been by what you'd seen.
Yeah, some really, really inspiring people just doing so much. Now, these hubs are all independent. They can get food from a variety of sources. But key is that they can order food in from a distribution hub run by Nourishing Norfolk, which is where we went next. Now, the hub where food is collected is based in a warehouse. The space is being lent to them by a private company who wanted to help out. And Tori Lewis from Nourishing Norfolk showed me the stock that they've got there.
So actually what we're looking at the moment is a range of products. So we've got stock cubes, we've got baked beans, and we've got tinned tomatoes, breakfast cereals, sugar, tea, coffee, things like that. Also We've got products that are important for whoever you are and whatever kitchen facilities you have. So we do have some kettle foods.
So kettle foods that you can prepare just using
a kettle. And we know from the food hubs that there are some people who are preparing food just with a kettle or with the microwave, or they might be scratch making.
And where did all these supplies come from?
So we work with a range of different wholesalers. So Booker, who are here locally in Norwich, are a really important partner for us because they help us provide the reliable, consistent supply of product. And that's really what this was about. It's about the hubs being able to order food and for what they order to arrive. This warehouse space has been the thing that's enabled us to say yes to opportunities.
And are there food banks in Norfolk as well as these community shops?
There's a network of food banks, and I think what's really important to say is that this is all part of the landscape of supporting those experiencing food insecurity in Norfolk. At crisis, if you just need something quick and you need something from the food bank, it is there, and it's absolutely critical.
Tori Lewis, and her job includes setting up these supplies for the hubs. The business that owns the warehouse we're in is called Norse. It's a big company that does facilities management, mainly for the council, things like maintenance, catering, cleaning and care. It's a private company that's also owned by Norfolk County Council. CEO Justin Galliford told me how else they're able to help the charity.
We have a vehicle fleet which runs around Norfolk, and we use our empty loads to move goods out to the food hubs for them. Our drivers know the roads well, so it was a natural synergy for us to be able to help move those goods out.
Shall we go and have a look?
Most usually the deliveries to the food hubs will be part of a route going out to people's houses. And Emily, who oversees all of the dispatch schedule, she makes this work week in, week out.
Although there's a cost, for us, what we're really pleased about is there's a much bigger marginal benefit to the people in Norfolk that need some help, which is an important part of the thing that we do aside from just generating a financial return.
And do you think that you'll carry on offering this space and this service, and how long for?
Yeah, we have no timeline on the help we're going to give. I think whilst there's a need and we have capacity, we will continue to help because it's just a great initiative for us.
And Sheila, as we've heard, transport in Norfolk is tricky. One train goes north to south. There are buses, but not always when and where you need them. So one of the hubs based right on the north coast has come up with a way to reach more people by setting up a mobile food hub.
So I'm Simon Prince, and I'm the General Manager of Coastal Health and Wellbeing in Wales Next to the Sea, and one of our projects is the Coastal Community Supermarket. We've taken an old Tesco's delivery van. We take an entire range of our shop out, so it's not just your basics, it's pet food, it's fruit and veg, it's chilled, it's frozen, and we set up in a village hall for 2 hours. And a lot of these places are very rural, very isolated. The cost of petrol on the coast is about 10p more than when you come inland, and on the face of it, some of these places that look beautiful for tourists have a very, very high proportion of children on free school meals.
I mean, that many children on free school meals is a serious indication of poverty, because the limit of your income before your children are eligible for free school meals is very, very low.
And Simon told me that most of their food is 30% cheaper than the big discounters. Of course, you get free fruit and veg as well. And they're also working with all kinds of local producers in many different ways.
So we work with Holcombe Estate, who give us a lot of potatoes, and our local butcher, Arthur Howell, is a real big partner with us. He supplied us with turkeys for Christmas and matched the price of Aldi. So this is a local butcher in a small North Norfolk town that is doing his bit. He wants his town to succeed, and if people can't afford to eat, they can't afford to shop in town, they can't afford to live in town because the cost of houses is so expensive. So if he can give back to his community, that's what he's doing. As a main supporter of us, he's worth his weight in gold.
Another producer providing supplies to their local hub is Melinda Raker, a farmer in Breckland who grows lots of onions, carrots and potatoes. But when she first started donating to the hub, she was told nobody was taking them.
They worked out that it was because the potatoes from our farm are dirty. Now, they're not muddy because this is sandy soil, but they do need to be washed. And this was reinforced by some school children who came here, and we took them down to the field so they could dig their own potatoes, their own carrots, their own onions. And one delightful child said to me, "Oh, yuck, these are disgusting. This is awful." Took the potatoes back to the farmhouse, washed them, prepared them, cut them into wedges, and she ate 3 helpings. There's this lack of connection between farming and food. So perhaps the only potatoes that people normally see are washed and in plastic bags in the supermarket, or they're chips, or they're ready prepared. And as farmers, we want more connection, because actually what we're providing is top quality, nutritious food. You can buy a pizza for 97 pence, high in fat, high in salt, high in sugar. Where's the nutritional value? But take a simple potato, bake it, add some cheese or add some tuna or half a tin of baked beans, and you've got a nutritious meal. And this is what we've all got to be looking at from every sector of the food industry, is to encourage people to eat better, more quality food that's better for them. We know that 20% of primary school age children are obese. This is an appalling statistic, and if we can encourage people back to preparing their own simple food, it will help enormously with that. What I really like about the hub is that it's more than a shop. And shopping has become absolutely soulless these days. I can go into my local supermarket, push my trolley around, load it up, pay at the self-checkout, and I haven't spoken to anyone. Go to the food hub, and they are doing so much more. I've been there when they were helping people with difficulties filling in the census. This is what community is all about. We've lost this.
Listening to all that material, Natalie, it doesn't sound like it is lost in Norfolk.
No, I think it's very alive, and it really is fulfilling what Claire Cullins's original ambition was for Norfolk.
When we started, we had a very clear vision, which remains, and that is to end food hunger in Norfolk, so that everybody's got food they can afford. But it's more than just providing the food. It's about providing the wraparound support to help people out of poverty for good. It's evolved now, and it's more than just food. It's about the right type of food and the right support. But it's also, if we look to a future where maybe food becomes more affordable, systems change, what we have created is a whole infrastructure of community response and a place that you can go near where you are. And that's the overriding ambition, that we work with communities to support them and develop them so that we improve individuals' lives and make Norfolk a great place to grow up, a great place to live for everybody.
For everybody. That takes us back to the woman who inspired this programme.
Delia Smith, who in turn had been inspired to write to us by Claire, who founded Nourishing Norfolk.
What Claire, when she first wrote to me, I'll quote what she said. She said, "When you ask but don't tell communities what they need, you unlock huge amounts of energy and innovation to tackle the problems we are facing today." That statement is very profound.
So do you think there is going to be some transformation in Norfolk through these huge number of these hubs and this involvement of farmers and a really wide community, actually?
It needs people. It actually needs people. What I would like to be able to do, but, this is very ambitious and I haven't got very far with it so far, but I would like to have some kind of citizens' assembly at the football club where we have huge spaces, get some people in Norfolk together to decide, how can we do it? How can we actually achieve it so there is no more food poverty, and see where we get? But the answer, I'm confident, would come if you are asking the people rather than the authorities. It's the energy that comes out of the people when they are being the ones making the decisions.
Thank you for listening. Producer Natalie Donovan and I hope you found our Norfolk story stimulating and a spur to thought. Thanks.
Hello, I'm David Yelland.
And I'm Simon Lewis. We're the hosts of Radio 4's When It Hits the Fan, the podcast which looks at how big names and big companies manage their PR.
But what about your own personal PR? How do you better manage your own reputation at work? We're here to help. With a series of special bonus episodes, we'll bring a little wisdom and share some tips to hopefully make you better at that job.
Quick Wins is a series of short and snappy episodes with lots of advice aimed at improving your working life. If that sounds useful, then please listen and subscribe on BBC Sounds. Just search for When It Hits the Fan.